Today we're looking at the Alamo. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out dailybellringer.com where you'll find more resources that go with many of the Bellringer videos. Before joining the United States in 1845, the state of Texas was part of Mexico and then for a short time operated as an independent country. The Texas War for Independence was fought from October 1835 to April of 1836, but to learn more about the background of the Texas independence movement, check out my other video covering the entire conflict. In December of 1835, Texans had successfully pushed Mexican troops out of San Antonio. The Mexican army abandoned the makeshift fort of the Alamo, which was a former Spanish mission with construction beginning in 1744 but never truly being completed. It was used as a church until 1793. Since that time, it had been converted into a military outpost by the Mexican military. When they abandoned the fort, they left 19 pieces of artillery or cannons behind, along with other supplies. The overall commander of the Mexican army was General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Santa Anna was furious at the loss of San Antonio and was determined to retake the area. Realizing this, the Texans needed to prepare for an attack. However, by January of 1836, there were only 100 men left at the Alamo to defend it. Sam Houston, who was one of several leaders claiming to be the commander of the Texas forces, was asked by James Neal, who was the current commander at the Alamo, to send aid. Houston felt that he could not spare the manpower to send to the Alamo and instead ordered Jim Bowie, a notorious knife fighter, to lead about 30 men to the Alamo and recover the guns from the Alamo and then destroy the fort so that it would not fall into the hands of the Mexican army. Once Bowie arrived, he realized there would be not enough horses and oxen to pull the artillery out of the fort, and Colonel Neal soon convinced Bowie that the fort needed to be defended. On February 11, 1836, Colonel Neal left the fort to go recruit more Texans to fight. He left the fort under the command of 26-year-old William Travis, although many of the men in the fort did not want to be under Travis's command and instead wanted Jim Bowie to be the leader. In the end, Bowie agreed to share command with Travis. In the midst of this, famous outdoorsman and former U.S. Congressman Davy Crockett, along with a small group of volunteers, arrived at the fort. Crockett had been wanting to come to Texas, and also he was promised 4,600 acres of land by the Texas government if he agreed to volunteer to fight. By late February, the number of defenders in the Alamo numbered close to 200, and approaching them was the Mexican army under Santa Anna that numbered between 1,800 to 8,000 troops. Early on February 23, 1836, the Mexican army began to surround the Alamo. For the next 13 days, the enormously outnumbered defenders of the Alamo would hold out against the much larger Mexican army. Sporadic exchanges of gunfire occurred over the next few days as the Mexican army began to close in and establish artillery, which constantly shelled the fort throughout the siege. The Mexican army raised a red flag, which could clearly be seen by the defenders of the Alamo, that signified no quarter, or in other words, no prisoners of war would be taken and anyone captured would be killed. On the evening of March 5, 1836, the artillery barrage of the Alamo ceased. Shortly after midnight, Santa Anna's men began to line up into columns to prepare for an all-out assault on the Alamo. At 5:30 in the morning on March 6th, the attack began. Approximately 1,800 Mexican troops stormed the fort, with the 200 defenders desperately attempting to keep them out. Two assaults were repulsed by the defenders before the third push by the Mexican army broke through. Fierce fighting broke out within the walls as the Texans retreated to the barracks inside the fort. By 6:30 a.m., barely an hour after the attack began, the fort was taken and all of the defenders were killed, with the exception of a small group of women and children that were allowed to live. There are reports that some Texans surrendered and then they were executed, and among them was Davy Crockett, but there's little evidence to support that claim. In the end, it is estimated that somewhere between 1,000 to 1,600 Mexican troops were killed, and officially 189 Texans were killed within the fort. Word of the siege and the death of all the defenders in the Alamo spread, and "Remember the Alamo" became the rally cry for the Texans. This inspired the Texans to fight and eventually win their independence after the Battle of San Jacinto in April of 1836. To this day, the Alamo is a symbol of Texas independence and of fighting against all odds. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.